عليكم السلام ورحمة الله, Sister Zakira. And everyone else. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. نعم. وين ما عفوا. ومن عمدة الأحكام. بسم الله. بسم الله. بسم الله. ومن الحمد لله. ممكن أقول نعم. نعم. So we're in the point 11. أي نعم. فإن أمسكت نفسي فارحمها. أي لا أستغني عنك بحال. فإن أمسكت نفسي أي قبضت قبضت روحي في النوم فارحمها أي بالمغفرة وَالتَّجَاوُزْ عَنْهَا. So we're at the part of the hadith what the Prophet ﷺ said that we should say, فَإِنْ أَمْسَكْتَ نَفْسِي. So if you keep my soul, you go to sleep, you said that. I said, cousin, and he said, no, that death is, sleep is the brother of death. So when I go to sleep, in amsakta nafsi, if you keep my soul, meaning I'm not waking up. And that's the reality of sleep, that, we often guarantee ourselves, not in our words, but not in our behavior, that we're going to wake up the next morning. And this guarantee is dangerous for us. May Allah forgive us all. Ameen. The thing that makes it dangerous is that the person who guarantees himself another day is normally not diligent in the day that he's in. It's called tasweef. I'm going to get it tomorrow. I'll do better tomorrow. I'll be stronger tomorrow. I'll read more Quran tomorrow. I'll pray more tomorrow. I'll be at the masjid tomorrow. Tasweef. Why? Because we keep guaranteeing ourselves the next day. But if we really lay down with this idea, فإن أمسكت روحي أو فإن أمسكت نفسي فارحمها. So if you keep my soul, when I go to sleep, when my soul is removed from my body, if you decide to keep it, ya Allah, you decide to keep it, then have mercy upon it. You decide to keep it, have mercy upon it. However, we're making that request, but what are we doing in our actions during the day before we go to sleep at night that would gain us the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We're just going to ask for it and that's it, without doing the things that bring about Allah having mercy, like being diligent doing his acts of obedience and being diligent also to stay away from the acts of disobedience. فَإِنْ أَمْسَكْتَ نَفْسِي فَارْحَمْهَا. لَا أَسْتَغْنِي, meaning I cannot do without you. I have no ability without you, O Allah. لا أستغني عنك بحال, in any situation. فإن أمسكت نفسي, so if you were to keep my soul, قبضت روحي في النوم, if you were to keep my soul when I sleep, then have mercy upon it by forgiving me and overlooking my faults and mistakes. قوله وإن أرسلتها فاحفظها, and if you return my soul back to me, then preserve it. Preserve it, not keep it in my body, meaning this soul in this body, all of it. My daughter, Maryam, Hafidhah Allah Ta'ala. We were going over hadith the other day. What was the hadith? In dua about the evil souls. So she said, evil souls? I said, yeah, Binti. Yes, my daughter, evil souls. She said, souls can be evil. I said, yeah, think about it. So she thought about it. I said, when somebody goes to the fire, is it just their body or their soul too? She said, the body and soul. I said, okay. So it means that both are participants in the evil. Both are participants in the evil. So the soul is a part of this. Allah Ta'ala said, نفس اللوامة, the self-reproaching soul. Also, إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء, indeed your soul promotes you to do evil, provokes you, instigates you to do evil. إلا من رحم ربي, except for the one that my Lord has mercy upon. Right? يا أيها النفس المطمئنة. From these three verses of the Quran and other verses, the scholars say the souls are divided into three. The souls are divided into three souls. The first type of soul is not because it is first, but it is the most prevalent. It is the most prevalent. Nafsun lawama. Nafsun lawama. The self-reproaching soul. The soul that does evil and regrets and blames itself. Surah Al-Qiyamah. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. Allah said, I swear by the day of judgment and I swear by that self-reproaching soul. أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن لَّن نَّجْمَعَ عِظَامَهُ. Does man consider or think that we cannot bring his bones back together once he dies? Bala, on the contrary, قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه. Allah Ta'ala has the ability not just to bring his bones back together, but to reclothe those bones with flesh. Not to just reclothe them with flesh, but to return everything as it was originally to the very tips of his fingers, including his fingerprints, being the same they were before as they were before he died. Nothing getting mixed up. Same exact person being raised up. Same flesh, same hair, same everything that he died was going to come back, and every bit of the individual, may Allah save us from that, will be punished. Body, mind, and soul. Whole thing. Nah. So yes. So the first type of soul, because of its most prevalence, is the self-reproaching, the blameworthy soul. Nafs al-lawwama. Then, and today, Allahu A'lam, as the Prophet ﷺ said, not a year comes to you people except that the hadith of Anas, not a year will come to you except the year after it will be worse than the one before it. So maybe at one time the nafs al-lawwama was the majority of the part, but now people do things without regret, without remorse. That's nafs ammaratun bisu. This is the soul that orders to do evil. Is prone upon evil, inclined toward evil. See, say it. Nah. Nah. Inclined and prone towards evil. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan, ahlan, ahlan. Nah. Self-roasting soul. So, get the Sheikh a chair, please. It's okay. Now, so you have what? The soul that orders with evil, that is inclined towards evil, that is inclined to do wrong. This is an individual. And sometimes an individual is like this in everything. And sometimes an individual is like this in most things. And sometimes an individual is like this in some things. And for those who Allah Ta'ala has favored, they're not like this at all. Meaning that sometimes an individual is inclined to evil, just period, everything. They say evil words. They look evil and mean. They don't even smile when they look at people. They walk with an evil, arrogant walk. Everything they're just overflowing with evil. There's people that are like that. Like human shayateen walking on the face of the earth, and you see how evil and prone to evil they are. They're just violent and belligerent and arrogant and ignorant and vile. They have embraced the evil whispers, accepted them as being true. How do you think an individual gets to the point that they go as far as taking another life for nothing, not in self-defense, not in defense of their honor, not in defense of their wealth, not in defense of their home, not in defense of their family, just for the love of shedding blood? This is not normal. This is insanity. Worse than that, serial killers. Oh, yeah. Mass shooters. Worse. Gangbangers do it revenge and over drugs, and so they think they're defending something. Same thing with tribal wars. But when you're talking about somebody that walks into a movie theater, a Walmart, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, a masjid, and just opens fire, men, women, and children just kill them. He's not at time of war. He's not going to war. He's not being threatened. He's not. Just kill people. Just kill people. People he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know them. There's no reason. Nothing that. There's nothing to push him or provoke him. Just kills people. What kind of evil is this? And enjoys it and doesn't mind. And then they interview him like he's a superstar, these individuals, and they say, oh yeah, I just felt like this is what I should do, and they deserved it, and I'm not sorry. And they just talk like that. And then instead of exerting justice against this individual by executing him. They sit and interview him, and he gets to write books and gets. What is this? What kind of society is this? And we look at the hadith of the man that killed 99 men. Story from the people before us. Hadith is in Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ said, كَانَ فِي الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ رَجُلٌ قَتَلَ 99 نَفْسًا. That there used to be amongst those who came before you, the ummah, the nations that came before you, a man that killed 99 men. The first benefit or the first thing that the ulama bring attention to, a man killed 99 people. The first, as a matter of fact, I'll ask, what is the first thing you think about? And I'll kind of give a hint. A man killed 99 people, so a benefit is going to be extracted from the fact that he killed 99 people. What do we get to understand from the fact that this one individual killed 99 people? That's a hint. That's a hint. What do we get out of it? Wa alaikum assalam, Abbad.
That his environment must have been evil.
Barakallah fiqh. In order for an individual to reach one individual to kill 99 people, he had to be in a place where no one was enjoying the good and forbidding the evil. How can you kill 99 people as one individual? Your family is not going to seek revenge? There's no legal system to protect you? To protect the people from you? Your tribe? Your friends? Nobody from 99 people and all of their people couldn't come together and stop this one man? What's going on in the society? What's going on in society that one man can kill 99 people and not be stopped and walk safely through the land and no one seeks revenge against him and no one arrests him and nothing? No repercussions. 99 people, one person. That was a big deal when the Prophet ﷺ explained it then. Now, how many people have killed 99 people in America? It's normal. The youth, back to what you mentioned, the gangs, they mark how many bodies they have. Got this many bodies, that many bodies. I'm looking right. La ilaha illallah. Muslims, I know you guys hear me all the time. Don't think this is an individual opinion. Okay, I did a study for a book I was writing in 2008 of the statistics in America. They said at any given time in the United States of America, there can be more than 700 serial killers moving about at one time. 700. Now let's look at the what do they call it? Not the MO, the description, the normal description of a serial killer. We say normal serial killer is middle class. Middle class means that the normal serial killer is someone who is educated. Educated individual. When I was reviewing this book with Sheikh Muhammad As-Sunnah, after I wrote it, and he saw those statistics, he said, La ilaha illallah. He said, if an educated person behaves this way in that land, then how do the ignorant behave? The uneducated. If someone with an education, I told him about Ted Bundy, who was graduated from Harvard, a lawyer. He was an assistant to the governor of California, and he was a serial killer. When they caught him, he had the heads of women in jars as trophies. Jeffrey Dahmer in Philadelphia was killing people and putting them in freezers and eating them. And then performing homosexuality on their corpse. On the corpse. What they call it? Necrophilia? This is the society we live. Don't be fooled by these classes. Don't be fooled by the programs. Don't be fooled by, oh, we have an Islamic school. Oh, we have a sheikh teaching there. This is the society we live in. This is the society that we have our children in today. This is the reality. This is the society that we're choosing to live in. We have other choices. This is the society we're choosing to live in, and that we die. If we die, when Yom Kippur is established, this is the society. This is the people we're going to be raised up in the middle of. أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً, the angels ask. Was not the earth of Allah spacious enough for you to move away from them? And nafs. So you have the soul that orders with evil, prone to evil, inclined to evil. Then you have, may Allah Ta'ala grant it to us all in this life and the next. Ameen. Nafsul mutma'inna, the tranquil soul. A soul has been blessed with tranquility. Is pleased with the qadr of Allah. The person who has this soul between his ribs is pleased with the qadr of Allah, accepts the qadr of Allah, has total trust upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, finds comfort in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah grant us this kind of soul. Ameen. This is the tranquil soul. This soul, it doesn't matter how many people love this individual around this individual. This soul is what the Prophet ﷺ said about this kind of soul. It said, unknown to the people of the earth, but known to the people of the heavens. SubhanAllah. So these souls leave our bodies when we sleep, as we are learning this dua. فَإِنْ أَرْسَلْتَهَا فَاحْفَظْهَا. So if you return my soul back to my body, preserve it by allowing me to be in your remembrance and allowing me to be upon your obedience. This is how Allah preserves the slave. وَإِنْ أَرْسَلْتَهَا بِأَنَّ رَدَّتْ الْحَيَاةِ إِلَيَّ وَإِقَفْتَنِي. It means that you return my life to me and cause me to wake up من النوم, from sleep. فَاحْفَظْهَا أي من المعصية والمخالفة. So then preserve it from disobedience and opposition to what you have legislated. بما تحفظ به أي من التوفيق. The same way you preserve by giving them success, والعصمة, and protection, والأمانة, and safety. قوله بما تحفظ به عبادك الصالحين. You, the same way you protect your righteous slaves. قال الطيبي رحمه الله تعالى الباء في الكلمة به مثلها ها في كتبت بالقلم، والماء موصولة مبهمة. نعم. وبيانها ما دل عليه سلتها، لأن الله تعالى إنما يحفظ عباده الصالحين من المعاصي ومن ألا ينهو يهنو في طاعته وعبادته بتوفيقه ولطفه. Now, so Tibi, he said that the ba is just like saying I wrote by using the pen. So he's saying Allah is breaking down the lugha. So saying that Allah Ta'ala to use the same mercy that he uses with the righteous slaves, use that same mercy upon me. But in Allah Ta'ala, how does he protect his righteous slaves? By keeping them away from his disobedience, and that they do not become negligent of his obedience and his worship. By giving them success from his kindness to them. All al-Manawi, and al-Manawi said, Nah, al-Qa'imina bihuquqik. Preserve me just like you preserve those who establish your rights. Nah. وذكر المغفرة للميت والحفظ عند الإرسال. نعم. للمناسبته له، لأنه تعالى إنما يحفظ عباده الصالحين من المعاصي. نعم. وألا يهنوا في طاعته بتوفيقه. وفيه ندب هذه الأذكار عند الأوي إلى الفراش ليكون نومه على الذكر. He said those who established your rights and the mentioning of forgiveness for the dead and preservation when the soul returns is appropriate. Have mercy upon me if I die. Forgive me and protect me if I'm alive. Both of them are the most appropriate things to say in either one of those states. Because Allah Ta'ala preserves his righteous slaves from disobedience and that they become negligent concerning his obedience by him giving them success in such a situation. And in it is an encouragement to say these words of remembrance when a person goes to bed so that he can sleep upon the remembrance of Allah. وتختم يقظته now يقظته بعبادة, and so that his state of being awake is sealed with an act of worship. قال الصنعاني رحمه الله تعالى المراد إن رددتها فاحفظها عند الرد وبعده من كل آفة من آفات البدن. Imam San'ani, he said what is intended by when if you return it, then if you return my soul, then preserve it when you return it, and after you return it from the mistakes and transgressions of the body. والحديث مشتق من الآية الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها. And the hadith is taken from the ayah الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها. And the hadith is taken from the ayah Allah Ta'ala takes the souls when they die, and those who do not die, he takes them in their sleep. Now, we'll stop here today. Allah to cause it to be a benefit, and next week we'll talk about الثالث أو ثالثا ما يستفاد من الحديث. The third is what is benefited from the hadith. Now, the first thing the Shaykh mentions, rahimahullah ta'ala, من علامات توفيق أن يبدأ المسلم يومه بحمد ربه والإقرار له بالعبودية. That from the signs that Allah Ta'ala is giving his slave success is that he causes him to start his day by praising his Lord and confirming the right of worship of his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu. Nah. And we'll stop here. If there's any statements or questions, we'll take them now. If not, we can stop. Now, this class is weekly after Isha here in Michigan. Weekly after Isha. So we pray Isha here at 7:30, and then after we make adhkar and pray, then Amin wa Jazaki. And after that we have the class. Nah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Naam, you were speaking about making hijrah, and my question is, so for the people who have the ability and opportunity to make hijrah, if they don't leave from America, will they be raised on Yom Qiyamah with the people who lived in the land of Kufr?
I hate to say what I'm about to say. Not hate to say it. I'm a little uncomfortable saying what I'm about to say. I recommend everybody to purchase the book. I'll share the link. It's called Hijrah, Fallacy or Reality. All the evidence is brought. I wrote this book in 2014. And I plan on doing a revised version of it, maybe later on when I settle down. But the evidence is presented, and I didn't present it in a way arguing my position about hijrah. I just presented the evidence with the tafsir, with the hadith, with the explanation, and like that to let why? Because hijrah is a case study. Each individual has to look at the evidence for the obligation of the hijrah and see if that obligation applies to him or her. That's how it is. So in general, for instance, from the conditions to the prayer, is qiyam al-qudra, is standing as long as the person has the ability. So we say in general, it is obligatory for every Muslim who is of sound mind, who is pubescent, to stand when they pray. That's the general ruling. Then you have someone that will come and say, but my back, I have this, or my leg, and like that. Then at that point, that person is what? Excluded. That's the exception. But the rule is every Muslim that lives in a non-Muslim land, before we get into the exception, we're going to talk about the rule. Every Muslim living in a non-Muslim land, it is obligatory upon them to make hijrah. They have to migrate to a Muslim land, right? In one hadith in Sunan Abi Dawood, the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, أنا بريء عن كل مسلم يقيم بين ظهرني الكفار. I am free from every Muslim that lives amongst the بين ظهرني المشركين, who lives amongst the polytheists. Prophet freed himself. He said, I'm free of every Muslim. In another hadith, he said, لا يقبل الله عمل مشرك أسلم حتى يفارق المشركين. He said, Allah does not accept the deeds of a mushrik who accepts Islam until he leaves and separates from the polytheist. Inshallah, I'll share the link in the group. Hijrah, fallacy or reality. The person looks at the evidence and then sees what. You have it?
Yes.
Nah.
The book.
Nah, that's it. Nah. Jazakallah khair. Now, this is the book here.
Allah.
Yeah, so you can get it on. This is on.
There's a PDF also.
This is a PDF. MashaAllah. I didn't even know about the PDF. Yes. So now there's a PDF. This is the book, Hijrah, Fallacy or Reality. And inshallah, send it to me and I can share it in the inshallah. Nah.
Thank you.
So get into that book, read it, and inshallah ta'ala, you'll see if it applies to you. Sister Khalud.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I had a quick question.
Naam, tafaddali.
Is there a distinction between a mushrik and Ahl al-Kitab in this context?
In this context, no. There's a distinction with them with regard to their kufr, how they disbelieve. But there's no distinction between them when it comes to separating ourselves from them. Allah Ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ شَرُّ الْبَرِيَّةِ. So Allah gathered both of them. Allah said, indeed, those who disbelieve from the mushrikeen and the people of the book, they will be in the fire of hell forever. These individuals are the most evil of creation. So he said about all of them, Surah Al-Bayyinah, all of them. Nah.
Jazakallah khair.
Ameen wa iyyak. Naam, barakallah fiqh. This is the book here. I recommend to get it. And inshallah, we're going to even share the PDF. Get it and look at it and you know, try to make a schedule, or what do you call it? Like I'm going to share it right now. And each individual, some people have sicknesses in the lands that they want to go to may not have the medical attention that they need in that land, so they'll be stuck. Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu, if you go to Tafsir Ibn Kathir and Tafsir al-Tabari and Tafsir al-Baghawi, you're not going to find. Ad-Dhahhak said what? That whoever abandoned hijrah with the ability is a sinner committing a major sin bil ijma' by the agreement of the scholars. Right? So you're going to find this in Tafsir Ibn Kathir. So all of that is going to be presented because it is from the obligation of preserving the religion of the Muslim. If we look at the definition of Islam, the scholars say, and one of the definitions of Islam is that it huwa istislamu lillahi bit-tawheed, that it is submitting to Allah Ta'ala upon His oneness, right? وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لَهُ بِالطَّاعَةِ, and submitting to His commands or complying to His commands with obedience. وَالْبَرَاءَةُ مِنِ الشِّرْكِ وَأَهْلِهِ, and is to free yourself from polytheism and its people. And its people.
How would you get like dawah over here?
That's not your responsibility. Your first responsibility is save your soul. There's no verse nor ayah that says go to the lands of the kuffar and give da'wah. It's nowhere.
So this applies to the people born here.
Yeah, the people born here, and I remember when I was at Masjid Furqan, a lot of brothers were there from Syria and Palestine and like that, and it was like, so you're saying that we have to make hijrah? I said, no, the people who were born here, or they were brought here when they were young by their parents, they have to make hijrah. The people who came as adults from a Muslim land to a non-Muslim land have to make tawbah. Those who came from a Muslim land to a non-Muslim land, and they chose a Kafir land over a Muslim land, then they have to make tawbah and return to the lands of the Muslims and have to be diligent. And remember that when we say lands of the Muslims, we're talking about the Muslims, and we're not just saying it has to be an Arab land. Because we have many Muslim lands, not all of them are Arab land. You know, Mali is a Muslim land. Gambia is a Muslim land. Indonesia is a Muslim land. Maldives is a Muslim land. It's a Muslim land. So it's not necessary. The brother said, well, Egypt, this happens in Egypt. Saudi, something happened in Saudi. The UAE, they did this. Kuwait, they did that. No, it's plenty of Muslim lands. Plenty of Muslim lands. So a person does his due diligence, he does his research, and finds out the land that is most suitable for him, his profession, or his trade, his family, his health, his children. It's true that it's a little different. Some people say, oh, it was easier back then because the Ansar accepted Islam and they were inviting the Muslims to Medina and they had help. And it was harder. Because when the Sahaba were making hijrah, the same thing, they had to abandon everything, their businesses, their everything. Allah Ta'ala mentioned this. You're going to find it in the book, the Ayah of the Tawbah, when Allah Ta'ala, when the second group of the Ansar accepted Islam, they said everybody was Muslim in Medina, and that's when they told the Prophet ﷺ to come. Right? So some people refuse to leave. They said, my family, my money. It's the same thing that happens today. My family, my money, I have established a business, but my home, but this. Allah Ta'ala said in this ayah about the individuals who said that they didn't want to abandon those things and make hijrah. Allah said, قُلْ. He told the Prophet, say to them, إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وأبناءكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. He said, say to them, if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your family members, the wealth in which you fear decline, the wealth that you love and the business in which you fear decline, and the homes that you take enjoyment and pleasure in are more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, and striving in the way of Allah, then wait for the ambush when Allah brings about His decision, and Allah does not guide a rebellious people. And you're going to find the tafsir in that book, and then you're going to find out that after that ayat was revealed, by 2 years, the Battle of Badr was ordered. And those who didn't make hijrah with the ability came out next to the mushrikeen. Doing what? How many Muslims have joined the army now? No, I'm not going to fight against the Muslims. I'm just going, I'm a medic. I'm a cook. I'm this, I'm that. Justifying being with the mushrikeen in their armed forces. So this happened to those Muslims. When it was time to go to war against the Muslims, they came out with the mushrikeen, not intending to fight. We just don't want them to know that we're Muslim because they may harm us. We're not talking about those who don't have an ability. We're talking about those who have the ability. So what happened? So when they came out, along next to the mushrikeen, the Muslims are fighting the mushrikeen. They don't know who's who. All they know is there's a group. So they began shooting their arrows and throwing their spears and like that. So some of those individuals who had the ability to make hijrah didn't were killed from stray arrows and straying spears that weren't intended for them because the Muslims didn't know that they were Muslim. So when the companions heard that so-and-so and so-and-so that hadn't made hijrah and still died, this is important that we don't make takfir of somebody that doesn't make hijrah. It's still a Muslim. Person that doesn't make hijrah is still a Muslim. It's committing a sin. Still a Muslim. I'm talking about that has the ability. So when the companions heard about that, تأسفوا وقالوا قتلنا إخواننا. They were sad. They said, we killed our brothers. We killed our brothers. So when they said that, Allah Ta'ala sent down the verse, we mentioned this before. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم لا إله إلا الله. Indeed, those who die oppressing themselves, tafsir, because they remained among the mushrikeen after Hijr was made obligatory. The angels asked them, what group were you with when you died? The ulama say, the angels don't ask them, were you praying? Were you in a land you could practice your religion? Were you making the 5 salah? Were you fasting Ramadan? Was your aqidah correct? Were you being chaste? Were you avoiding major sins and like that? The angels asked them one question: who were you with when you died? They understand the problem that they have, and they respond to the angels. So they said, we were weak. We were weak. All the angels respond. أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِيَةً فَتُهَاجِرُوا فِيهَا. Wasn't the earth of Allah spacious enough for you to make hijrah and get away from those mushrikeen? أُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ. These individuals, this is being revealed about Sahaba. Pay attention, ikhwan. This ayah was revealed about Sahaba. أُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. These individuals, their abode will be the hellfire with an evil destination. So the ulama, when explaining this ayah, they said, so these people were the first and foremost in embracing Islam. And because they abandoned hijrah with the ability, this is how Allah dealt with them. So how will Allah deal with other than them? This is very serious. Then Allah gave the concession or the exclusion. إِلَّا الْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ, except for those who are weak. مِنَ الرِّجَالِ, men. والنساء, women. والولدان, children. لا يستطيعون حيلة. They can't devise a plan. ولا يهتدون سبيلا. They don't know a way. أولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم. These individuals, Allah will forgive them. Ibn Abbas, in the tafsir of this ayah, he said, كنت أنا وأمي من المستضعفين. Me and my mother was from those who were weak. We couldn't make the hijrah. He didn't make the hijrah. So me and my mother from the weak, we couldn't get out. So each individual has to look at the evidence and decide what is their state. I can't say, you have to leave, you can stay. It's not up to me. The person looks at the evidence and sees what their state is, and then he decides what his situation is when he stands before Allah, Yawm al-Qiyamah. But remaining among the kuffar is very detrimental to our deen. You have to excuse me if I can't read, children. Children came back for education. What does it say?
No, sorry. If you want me just to ask it directly, my question was, when parents make hijrah, essentially, do they have the ability to make it for all of their children? Like if you have parents that make the decision to make hijrah when their children are the ages of before puberty, essentially. Yes. And then after the fact, if said children go back to, quote, non-Muslim countries in order to pursue education, but their intention is never to stay, is tawbah mandatory upon them?
It depends. This is a good question. And Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen and Sheikh Ibn Baz, specifically Sheikh Uthaymeen, talked about this in detail. Is it permissible to travel to the lands of disbelief? So the asl in traveling to the lands of disbelief is what at-tahrim, that is haram. The asl of traveling to the lands of kuffar is impermissible. And we've broken so many rules. Like when you study the ahkam al-Quran, from the principles of the Quran is that it's not permissible to take a mushaf, meaning all Arabic, to the lands of the enemy. So they don't desecrate it and disrespect it. We've done it. We have Qurans everywhere, and now they're burning it, throwing it, stepping on it, disrespecting it. This is why we're not supposed to have Qurans. You get translation or you're not supposed to have a mushaf. The only mushaf that really we should have in the lands of the enemy is that which is in the hearts of the huffaz. In the hearts of those that memorized it. We should have walking masahif everywhere. But the book, what? We were told not to bring it to the lands of the disbelievers because they would desecrate it and disrespect the words of Allah. And now we're living it. This guy burned the Quran, the Muslims are upset. It's because of us.
We were told from way back then.
Not from way back then. So about the children coming from education, for education. A Muslim is not supposed to travel to the lands of Kuffar unless he fits 3 conditions. Some scholars mention 4. But the 3, number 1 is that he has a need that cannot be fulfilled in the lands of the Muslim. And it's an actual need, whether it be individual or for the Muslim society. For instance, let's say the Muslim government wants to send the Muslims to this land because this type of education in medicine or in engineering and something like that that will push the Muslims forward does not exist in any of the Muslim lands. So it has to be a need or a medical need. This medical treatment cannot be found in any of the Muslim lands, and so forth and so on. So anything that we consider a need, or I'm sorry, not a need, a necessity. Because a need is something that without it, it makes life difficult. But the necessity is something that without it, what? You die. Yeah. Nah. So he has to have a necessity to go there. Number 1. Number 2, he has to have enough religious knowledge that he or she is able to defend themselves against the shubahat of the kuffar. They have to have enough religious knowledge to protect themselves from the doubt and the instigation and the things that the kuffar are going to be saying about their disbelief and about their religion. And number 3, the individual has to have enough istiqamah, religious adherence, that they are safe from falling into the desires. Because a person may not go to kufr, but he might go to ma'asi. And we know what happens to the Muslims in these universities here. We know all too well. The Muslims come as exchange students, or they come and they're raised here and they go to those universities, and before you know it, what happens? Sister Asma has a kafir boyfriend. La ilaha illallah. She has a kafir boyfriend. But he said he likes Islam. He's thinking about accepting Islam. What are you talking about? What's going on? So this is the things that happen to the Muslims are mixing with the kuffar. So they are the main 3 conditions that I mentioned. So if they fulfill those 3 conditions, then there's no manner. And even Sheikh Uthaymeen said, really, when these children or these students are sent to study from other lands, it should be a chaperone sent with them to monitor their behavior to see if they remain as they came. He said, and also it should be monitored when they come back, because many times Muslims go to the lands of the disbelievers and they pick up evil ways and behavior, and then they go back to the land of Islam and spread it there. And we know all too well about what has happened over the years of this going back and forth, because the kuffar now have a new methodological a new method. I'm doing method because the L doesn't want to come out. A new method of worrying about Islam, and they war against Islam by causing us to mix with him, and they understand the Arab proverb, at-tabaru sarraq, that character is a thief. And they know that what we do takes effort, and what they do just takes a person to let go and fall into their desires. So it's more likely for us to go fall into what they do than for them to begin doing what we do. So they allow us to mix, and they have the cross and the crescent coexist, and like that, and then we get weaker and weaker because the hellfire is covered, it's surrounded by desires. So it's easier to trick us than it is to get them to take on obligations and like that. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. No.
A lot of boys in the big cities of Saudi can be seen with shops.
Yeah. Like, they're coming back. They come here. They get their education. They get their masters and like that. But they go back with a degree, and they go back with other things, and they begin introducing those things. And I don't want to mention them here, but I know a lot of Jazaki. I don't want to mention some of the things that I've seen in the land of the Muslims that came from the West, and the people who've been calling to it brought it from the West. And I'll mention one. In Egypt, and may Allah reward the government of Hosni Mubarak, and may Allah Ta'ala forgive them for their mistakes, Ameen, and reward them for them standing up for Deen. It was a homosexual boat party in Egypt. This is right at the offshoot of what do you call it? Social media. So they were contacting each other through social media, and they were having a homosexual boat party in Egypt. So the Egyptian Secret Service, or FBI, or Amn al-Dawla, National Security, they were following this group through social media. investigating. One of them was acting like he was one of them. All I can say is that what happened in the newspaper is that a boat in the Nile caught on fire and there were no survivors. And so, that's all I know is that with that boat party, the boat caught on fire and there were no survivors. You know. So this is the type of stuff that is, becoming widespread and, picking up their ways. So we have to be very careful and very diligent. The whole point is, save yourself and your family from the fire. So everything that is needed, this is from Usul al-Fiqh, to save yourself and your family from the fire is an obligation. The ulama said Usul what? ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. Again, ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. That which an obligation cannot be complete except through it, then it itself becomes an obligation. Whatever you need to complete, let me say it in another word, in an easier wording. Whatever you need to complete an obligation, then that thing that you need to complete the obligation is an obligation. By way of you needing it to complete the obligation. By itself is not an obligation, but because it's necessary to complete an obligation, that becomes obligatory. Let's say, for instance, a person cannot wake up on their own for Salat al-Fajr. It's impossible. Alarm clock is wajib for this person. Wajib. Why? Because he cannot do it on his own without an alarm clock. So now an alarm clock is obligatory. And for that person not to have an alarm clock, he's committing a major sin. Because he cannot wake up for Fajr except with an alarm clock. So he has to set that alarm. Nah. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How we can differentiate between the whisperings of Satan and nafs?
MashaAllah, before you brothers and sisters go online, Sheikh Ahmed asked an important question. How do we differentiate between the whispers of shaitan and the whispers of the nafs? This is so important. So, our nafs, we have inclinations that are human inclinations that has to do with human desires that are normal, right? Man desires woman, woman desires man. Man and woman desire food. And other than that. So if a person gets the desire to eat while fasting, this is normal. This is normal. It doesn't mean that shaitan is not instigating that also, but the desire to eat while fasting is a normal desire. It's human, it's the nafs. If a man sees a woman and desires that woman, this is normal. This is the nafs of a man. It's normal. If a woman sees a man and desires the man, this is normal. This is the nafs. If a woman sees a woman and desires the woman, this is not normal. This is not the fitrah. So now this is from the whispers of shaitan. If a man sees a man and desires to be with that man sexually, this is not normal. So every whisper that goes against the fitrah is an instigation from the shaitan. And every whisper that is from the acts of disobedience, however, it doesn't go against the fitrah, then this is from the nafs. Nah. Wallahu a'la wa a'la. Nah. Barakallahu fikum. And that's in short. And then maybe on next class we'll go in more detail about also the importance of, not like the Afrocentric people say it, but how we're supposed to say it, having knowledge of self. And I'll just mention it quickly here. It's important to have knowledge of self, meaning it's important to know what is you when it comes to sin. Meaning, I do have a habit of doing that. And I know that this is something I do because I like to do it, or this is what I don't do because I'm lazy in this particular issue. And the person knows his own self, and it takes a person to acknowledge their faults and also to acknowledge their strong points. So when a person can acknowledge their faults, then they're more able to defend themselves against themselves. And the qareeb, doesn't normally come with something outside of your normal inclinations. The qareeb watches our behavior and our mistakes, unless Allah makes it submit, and He watches our inclinations, or he or she watches our inclinations, and then incites us towards our normal inclinations. Everything that's outside of that, then this is from the shaitan. But it doesn't exclude the shaitan even from our normal whisperings. So it's from ourselves and from the shaitan. Nah. وجزاكم الله خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.